Oh, hey, don't mind me, I'm just in jail. Again, tried pirating a copy of GTA 6 in a 3-star hotel room. You know, the old Amazon Fire Stick method. Though, as I'm sitting here, amongst criminals that may maul me to the very essence of my being, mutilating me to the unique atomic elemental threads which persuades the complicated illusion of identity. Like they did to that guy. Ugh. Yeah, he was a circle before. I can't help but think about the history of piracy. Or maybe like, you know, those old anti-piracy screens. Not because I'm being held against my will to entertain these guys. You know what I mean? Well, I suppose I got 10 minutes before they realized I can't work a computer and locked myself out before I could do anything. Please realize I can't work a computer and lock myself out before I could do anything. Hey, stop stalling! My greatest apologies. Ever since the release of the Altair 8800 in 1975, and programmers started releasing software, pirates have always been there to steal and avoid paying for them. It got so bad, Bill Gates was rage tweeting about it, or what that meant back in the 70s. Writing a letter. Developers didn't really have much of a defense strategy towards pirating other than begging and asking nicely. So when programmers really started to get the hang of this personal home computer thing and started creating games, nothing was really done to avoid piracy. Not even a single anti-piracy screen. Though honestly, this wasn't necessarily a bad thing. At the time, the commercial gaming market only existed in arcades and the first ever consoles. Commercial PC games weren't really a thing yet, and people were just sharing little projects and free software.
It ain't always about the money, Spider-Man.
It's about the hobbyist, baby. Love the hobbyist. Oh yeah, baby. Free software. Let's go, baby. Before arcades, the first ever games like Tennis for Two barely received public attention and were only available for display at nerd conventions like the Brookhaven National Laboratory's annual exhibition. So piracy wasn't really a concern. Traveled to 1971, and arcades, as we all know, started revolutionizing gaming, really creating the video game industry. But these games didn't just plainly exist as downloadable software you could just crack. At least, not yet. These games were heavily reliant on unique hardware. Everything required of the game, its logic, graphics, and controls were embedded in the circuit boards. This is why one machine was capable of only playing one game. These arcade cabinets were gigantic and expensive. And even the first private use home consoles like Home Pong, released by Atari in 1975, existed on a game-by-game basis. Piracy, as we understand it today, hacking and distributing digital files, was virtually impossible. But that didn't stop pirates though. Introducing bootlegging! Yeah, turns out fans and piracy groups weren't really the problem yet. Various manufacturers started reverse engineering the arcade cabinets and releasing their own bootleg games. Pong? Nah, we got Paddle Battle. Donkey Kong? Nah, you ain't thinking straight. Crazy Kong. Mario Bros? Heck no, we got Druggy Bros! A typical day in Atlanta. Essentially, by the late 70s, both PC and arcade/console developers realized,
yeah, I ain't gonna lie, I'm getting cooked.
and yeah, they were. Because Atari almost died. Let me introduce you to a little game called Microsoft's Adventure. Considered by many to be one of the first ever commercial PC games, Microsoft's Adventure would lead what would become a precedent in video game development, the use of DRM, digital rights management, simply defined as the use of technology to control and manage access to copyrighted material. What Microsoft did was that it designed the game to be completely reliant on floppy disk, creating exclusivity. But even then, floppy disks could still be copied. To prevent this, the tracks and sectors on these disks, which would store and instruct the operating system on how to access its data, were manipulated. Effectively, these floppy disks are intentionally unreadable and would refuse to boot or be copied because they appear corrupted. This copy protection would prove to be successful and incredibly difficult to bypass. It even had an obscure nerdy magazine praising its copy protection. But, as we all know, all good things aren't made to last, because within the same year, a teenager named Nick Andrew, after 2 days, cracked the game. And just like that, this would begin the start of a never-ending war between developers and pirates. A war of advanced computational science, a war of legal litigation, and most importantly, the beginning of anti-piracy screens. Oh, hey look, it's also technically the start of this video. To begin, my goofy research takes us to the second generation of gaming with La Abadía del Crimen, aka the Abbey of Crime. Low-key, I'm gonna be real, I don't know what this game is about. I genuinely tried to learn, but nothing went through. I'm serious. Now that we're entering the late 80s, DRM was becoming more of a norm in video games, meaning piracy grew, becoming somewhat of an organized community summarized as the Juarez scene, or just the scene. La Abadía del Crimen would have been subjected to these piracy communities, leading the developers to create one of the first anti-piracy screens. Yeah, so if the game detects it's being pirated, once you get to this certain part of the game, the word pirate in Spanish is repeated in a continuously lower pitch until the game shifts to black and becomes unplayable. And just 1 year later, Gold Rush would be released. Instead of heavily relying on some elaborate manipulation of its floppy disk like Microsoft's Adventure or possibly La Vida del Crimen, Gold Rush would exist amongst many games that would simply just require the player to own the manual. These manuals would sometimes include the answer to puzzles or contain information the game would eventually ask you to refer to. I mean, sometimes instead of manuals, players would just receive code wheels or lens lock, basically a device that would decipher some corrupt message on screen. What happens in Gold Rush is that some crusty old man would just ask you trivia questions, and entering the wrong answer would activate its anti-piracy screen. Huh, yeah, no, I think that was a little extreme. Hey Lois, you wanna go watch the public hanging later? I heard this guy didn't know the answer to a fucking trivia question. Traveling to the 4th generation brings us to the SNES. Yeah, we're gonna leave PCs alone for a minute, let them, figure some things out. Now that we're entering the early 90s, there are a lot more established anti-piracy methods available. So I guess when Nintendo wanted to release a new Donkey Kong game, they were told, hey, so boss, we got the option to choose from removing a vital feature, preventing progression. We got preventing the game from starting up, the classic black screen, or, okay, scaring the shit out of children like they did in that Gold Rush game a couple of years back. You know, I don't know about this last one. It's like some scary anti-piracy screen.
Say that again?
Goo goo gaga.
And so we got the anti-piracy screen for Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy's Kong Quest. I truly think this is what started the fascination with anti-piracy screens. It's not really clear if Nintendo genuinely wanted to scare their young demographic, because that would be kind of dumb, right? I mean, they definitely want to discourage piracy, but they don't want kids to be scared of their games. Well, whatever it was, little to no care seemed to be given, because come along the 5th generation, in which Ocarina of Time was released for the Nintendo 64 in 1998. The Nintendo 64 would definitely prove to be a harder console to pirate, because as we all know by now, don't fuck with Nintendo. So while PC was over there at the forefront of this piracy war, Nintendo's decision to stick with cartridges rather than switch to disc made it really hard to pirate. These cartridges were complicated and expensive, and Nintendo definitely took it a step further by incredibly improving their DRM measures from the SNES. Nintendo also knew just how popular their games were becoming, and with such a popular title like Zelda, they'd still thought to include these eerie piracy measures. What I'm referring to is the sequence when trying to escape Ganon's castle. Zelda is able to escape, and you are just left there behind. Left there to be crushed by the castle and die. As the years progress and video game generations come and go, anti-piracy screens definitely would become less pronounced. They have always only taken the shape of about 4 forms. The game breaks right after a screen explicitly acknowledges that the user is currently playing a pirated version of the game, like Spyro Year of the Dragon.
I'm sorry, Spyro, but you seem to be playing a hacked version of this game. This may be an illegal copy. Since this copy has been modified, you may experience problems that would not occur on a legal copy.
The most common form in which the mechanics of the game are manipulated to work incorrectly, preventing further progression. This is also a well-known piracy measure in Grand Theft Auto 4. And then the other two, the game immediately stops after booting up, or it just doesn't boot up at all. Wait, you know, it's been a while since we checked on the PC side of video games. I wonder how they're Huh. Yeah, that's not very good. The early 2000s was crazy. Every PC game was being cracked in seconds after release, and sometimes even before release, by numerous pirates within the scene. Nintendo piracy has gotten so bad, they had to fight in court throughout various countries in order to prevent the R4 cartridges from taking over the DS. And the introduction of online stores basically just granted pirates access to every game imaginable on console. So I guess developers found themselves thinking again,
Yeah. I ain't gonna lie, I'm getting cooked.
very effective measures started taking place. The rise in multiplayer games and live service around the early 2010s gave developers a lot of power when managing their games and implementing effective DRM measures. A great example of this would be the program Denuvo, which arguably changed the game in effective anti-piracy measures. Developers also thought to be more strategic when facing piracy, largely removing the point of anti-piracy screens. Developers invested in providing great services in their distribution platforms, along with the games themselves. The rise in cloud saving, which increases accessibility across various devices. Remote play, frequent quality of life updates, shifts to online-centric mechanics, subscription models. You can even consider the rise in mobile gaming, which helped create an entirely new genre of free-to-play games, which defeats the purpose of piracy. Developers have also largely recognized the inevitability of piracy and are more so prioritizing protecting their games during immediate release and peak sales. So, yeah, I guess I'm sorry to be the one to tell you this, but it turns out anti-piracy screens aren't really what they appear. The internet is filled with fake anti-piracy screens, which often resurface on trending pages. Real anti-piracy screens have never taken things this far and usually don't intend on scaring pirates. But it's completely understandable why these fake ones are so popular and have been adapted into creepypasta. Their eerie designs tap into a potent mix of fear, shock, and curiosity amongst viewers. Part of their allurement lies in their unsettling nature, but a deeper connection purely stems from nostalgia. These games represent cherished memories from our childhood, those late nights spent alone playing them and the comfort they provided. To see something filled with a mass amount of nostalgia, the very games we associate with joy and safety, secretly harboring unsettling content, is rough.
That's rough, buddy.
Yeah, what Zuko said! For some, especially those bold enough to dabble in piracy, these screens evoke a more specific anxiety. A paranoia born from the quiet hours spent cheating the system. Because even in their triumphs, a lingering unease never left. Was someone watching? The authorities, maybe. No, it was the game itself. A silent observer beyond the screen, bidding its time. And when the moment was right, it delivered its haunting message. Damn, you bro for real. Well, would you look at that? They still haven't released me. Oh, come on, guys. You're not gonna really. Whoa, okay, you're strong. Hey, listen, don't be rash. The bite of 87. Come on. Nothing? Tough crowd. Well, I'm cooked.